Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the National Conference of Teachers of Mathematics in Washington, D.C. There had some really good sessions there, some that weren't so good, but the first one that I went to was absolutely outstanding. And it was entitled Closing the Achievement Gap of Middle School Mathematics Through Higher Expectations and Rigor. I took all my notes and good notes, and you can see on the front page I even left a comment to it say that, this is a very good session. And what we're going to do is talk about some of the high points of what the presenter suggested doing during it. First off, she was just showing how her class has grown, nothing too excited there. But she went on from there to ask questions such as, what does high expectations mean for you? And for all of this, there's different answers for that. My standards are probably different than your standards, and believe it or not, some of her standards were actually tougher than my standards, but not for long, because I'm going to be implementing some of what she suggested into my class as well. One of the things she talked about is that from the very first day of school, you need to have routines, you need to have rules, you need to have whatever your procedure for the entire year is going to be, you're going to implement that day one coming out of the gate. She has some rules. She actually has a sign outside her classroom that says, "Excuses stop here." She does not allow excuses in her classroom. You either do what you're supposed to do or you don't. You're either successful or you're not. Excuses have no place in her class. And her 3 B's, B1 is to be prepared. And you can see part of being prepared. Let's see if I can get it to zoom in here. There we go. Her first one is to have all supplies every day. Now, that's one of my rules as well. Her second rule is be responsible. That pretty well makes sense to go with things. But her third one is to be respectful. And one of her things for being respectful is she makes her students clean the classroom before they leave every day. I thought that was pretty interesting. Another rule of hers is that math work must be completed in pencil. That's a rule I share, and her reasoning for that is that you are supposed to make mistakes in math. And the best way to fix a mistake you make in math is to have an eraser, a pencil, erase it and go back and do it. And she has another rule that her and I share, and that is no work equals no credit. She said that supporting work allows me to catch and fix misconceptions related to the standard. So when a parent fusses at her about, why are you making my child show work when he can do it in their head? Well, it's not about can they find the answer. It's can they prove that they understand the standard that is being taught for this part of the lesson. She also, another one of my rules, does not give any personal extra credit. She might offer an extra credit problem on a test or an extra credit activity for the entire class, but there is no individual extra credit offered to any student. You're going to get the grade you earn, and you're going to be held accountable from the very, very first day. Let's zoom out here a little bit and see what else we have here. She says requires kids to use proper math language such as unit and unit. So for example, 0.3, she expects her kids to say 0 3/10. If there's pounds, dollars, things of that nature involved, she expects them to use it. When they're writing dollars, a lot of students are going to put that dollar sign after the money. She's going to take points for that. The dollar sign goes in front of the money because that's the way we actually write money. Going down to her next set of slides, I took some photos of her worksheets that she had, and let's see here, boom, it says all excellent mathematics programs require that all students have access to high quality mathematics curriculum, effective teaching and learning, high expectations, and the support resources needed to maximize their learning potential. All students must have the high expectations. If you do not have the high expectations for all of your students, then you're taking and not giving them what they need. She reviewed the different depth of knowledges, and we all in education know about what the depth of knowledges are, but one of the things she emphasized is that the DOK4, she's only going to use that once or twice during a lesson because there's so much work involved in order to get a DOK4 level question involved in math. It takes pretty much a day or two to do one DOK4 level question in math. She believes in using fractions all year long. Once fractions are taught, guess what she does? She keeps throwing fractions at the kids, because if you don't use it repeatedly, you're going to forget how to use it. She also uses money problems. She said that some of the kids say that they can't work their algebraic type problems, but then if you take and put a dollar sign in front of it, well, that involves money, so now all of a sudden they can do it because they understand money. If you take the money sign out, they don't understand it anymore. Questions where students are expected to find a mistake, that is going to be a DOK3 level question. Those are very important. Fortunately, the curriculum that we're using now for the 7th grade mathematics program in Gulf Shores has those kind of questions in pretty much every homework assignment. So that's a really good benefit for us. It dives you straight up to a DOK3, where the students have to learn from the mistakes of others. She incorporates geometry anywhere she can. So where she's doing an algebra lesson, she incorporates geometry. Why is that important for us? Well, the standardized test, we generally test kind of poorly on geometry. Why? Because geometry is always taught at the end of the year. Now you're taking that geometry and you're incorporating it all the way through the year, so that when the kids get to that standardized test, the ACAP here in Alabama, then they have the skills they need to at least get some of those questions right, even if you've not made it into the geometry chapter for that year yet. Coming on down here, she also uses fractions for money problems. If the kids want to work them as a decimal, they're allowed to. But they can't just take and automatically convert 1/2 to 50 cents. They have to show her the math of how they converted the 1/2 to 50 cents. And by doing that, she is teaching her kids what I've taught all along, that fractions are your friends. And once you learn fractions, they're so much easier to use than decimals are. Oh, I should add, she doesn't allow her kids to use calculators either. I really like this lady. Coming down to our next one, she talked about doing open-ended questions, and she does not like Kahoot at all. She said Kahoot games do not work for most students because all they do is click things. They're not actually engaging their brain, thinking and trying to figure out what to do. They're just clicking through the process. Let's see, what do we have here? That she'd mentioned to go to this website here. Let me zoom in on it. It's the www.insidemathematics.org, and they have a variety of really good math problems already there. It says it's free for teachers. It's broken down by both grade level and domain. So if you're looking for some creative questions to work with your kids to help get those DOK levels up, that's a really good source. We went over the one for the Will Shop, and it was really, really well done with graphics and everything else. She does not like math tricks. So for example, keep, change, flip that we've always used for division of fractions, she does not like that. And the reason she doesn't like that is because later on when they get into algebra, just for example, when we're comparing a perpendicular line in the linear equation, we teach the kids to take the opposite reciprocal. Well, what is a reciprocal? It's something they should have learned in elementary school when they were learning fractions and learning how to divide fractions, where you keep the first number the same, you change division and multiplication, and then you multiply by the reciprocal. You don't flip, you multiply by the reciprocal. So she really is big on, once again, using that proper language in math all the way through. Don't focus on tricks, particularly when sometimes the trick doesn't work for everything. If that trick does not always work every single time, it's not something you need to be teaching the kids, because you're going to be setting them up for failure on other things. Coming on down, let's see what else we have, and we're on her last slide. So she has said every single lesson you give needs to have word problems. Just by making a word problem, it automatically goes boom to DOK2 or higher. Productive struggle is necessary. She said do not give the students the same exact type of problems, layout of problems in their homework as you do in the notes. Now, some of it's good, but you also need to take and give them some other types of problems so that they have to do that productive struggle. They have to think about how it works instead of just following the roadmap you give them. Don't encourage your kids to not shy away from a problem just because it's hard. And if they can come to you for help, don't just show them what to do. Ask them questions to guide them through the process of finding that answer the best way. Once again, finding error problems, very important for critical thinking. As applicable, students need to see all types of rational numbers within the concepts. That means single thing you teach, if you can do it, you need whole numbers, you need negative numbers, you need decimals, you need fractions. All that needs to be in everything. She encourages at least one multiple choice and a multiple select on every assessment you give. That's going to once again be preparing kids for the standardized test. And finally, she says teaching math for learning, not because it's just on the test. I don't teach the test. Honestly, I could care less what is on the ACAP test. I teach the standards for the state of Alabama, and that should cover the test. On top of that, if you're teaching the kids math for learning to make sure they understand the math, they understand the material, that test is going to take care of itself. I hope you found this information useful. Please come see me if you have any questions, and those of you all out in YouTube world, I look forward to hearing your comments and your thoughts on this. Thanks for watching.